So it really isn't about just killing them, it's in defense as well.
It isn't, yeah.
It's defending the innocent people
yes.
that they're lying in wait to kill, because they're hiding in the caves or whatever, and as people are out there going about their business, they will seek to kill them.
Yes, and
and let me make a quick comment, if it doesn't disturb. I just want to say that the part that sticks in that I'm aware of myself is the part also where they say kill the disbeliever. And I know over here many people have interpreted as he's explained that to be Christians, you know, or to be Jews, and that is a dispute of faith, you know, that we're killing them simply because they disbelieve in Islam, and that's being spreaded, that they're being killed, whereas it's being made clear that these were people, even though they may be using that language, you know, the disbeliever, or maybe we might use the language infidel, that we're talking about someone who's at war, who is, and over here sometimes we may have people who have maybe broken ranks. We would call some of them traitors if it was just one or two, but if we have people who have broken our agreement to uphold the peace, and then they are starting to, you know, ambush, as he pointed out, and look for ways to disrupt the peace continuously, and committing murders and things like this. Then that kind of person is what we're talking about, and not just a person who has a different faith.
Yes, and this is actually very clear in the Quran here in the verse number 4. This is verse number 5. In verse number 4 it says, except those of the mushrikeen, those disbelievers, with whom we have a treaty, and who have not subsequently failed you in aught or have supported anyone against you. So there is an exception. So this specific verse is very specific to certain people who have committed certain acts.
Right.
And also in the rulings of the Quran by by Al-Jassas, in 381, he is a very influential scholar. He says that's not only that, but it's also very specific to the Arab disbelievers and nobody else. So it was very specific to the Arab disbelievers in that area and nobody else, because that had to do with the Mecca and Haram al-Sharif and nobody else around the world.
Right. And also it's important that within the folds of Islam that language is used. So, you know, to refer to people who have declared themselves to be Muslims, some are also called disbelievers. You know,
yes.
So within the folds of Islam, that same language is used, and not just outside.
In the previous ayahs that you just read and stuff, we're speaking to the moral killing or fighting of morality and decline. Is that not correct?
Yes.
That's what we're speaking of. And some people may ask that if the Quran is clear in its message and verses, why are there different interpretations?
Well, there are not supposed to be any different interpretations in the Quran. In Islam or in the Quran, if there is a principia or a principle of the Quran that is clearly stated here, you cannot change the wording. You cannot change the principle to mean something else. And one of the principles of Islam, it is a principle, it is a pillar, it is a tenet of Islam, is that when you fight, when you kill someone, you do not kill someone except in self-defense or to fight a tyranny. So it's a principle, it's a tenet of Islam, you cannot violate it. And if the Quran explicitly states that principle here with clear wording, very clear, there's no you know, you cannot interpret it one way or the other. You should take the Quran exactly as it says, because it's a principle. Now, there are people who would take half a verse and then take that half a verse and do not explain what has been written before it or afterwards. And that can be done anywhere. I can be talking now in this show, and then somebody might only take part of it, and this whole conversation would mean totally something different.
Yeah, and the and also we have experience with not just Islam like that, but with all religions that way, because Christianity has been a very nice, beautiful religion, but we can remember from our own history how the Klan used to use the Bible to justify mistreatment
Yes.
of the den slaves, and then they went to they were using the Bible and saying that they were justified, and they described us as heathens under that. In fact, the term that we hear a lot of times in Islam, infidel, was not a term that the Muslims invented. It was a term that was invented, I think, in Spain, that they used to describe the Muslims. So they were actually referring to the Muslim with the language.
Right.
But at any rate, it's a matter of how. I think the human nature part of it is that when people are under pressure, whether they have been mistreated and been under a lot of pain for a long period of time, that can alter their perspective, sometimes alter their humanity even. They can be driven mad, almost, where they will interpret things, or selfishness, greed, and all these matters can also come into effect upon people and affect them so that they start to interpret under these desires.
Yes.
And so I think that also has to be looked at, and I think that's probably the main reason, as to why we find some people are willing to perhaps kill indiscriminately, men, women, children, regardless, and they use religion as a shield for that, to try and use religion as a shield.
Yes.
And they understand it differently.
There are other ayats, and one of them says that, and kill them wherever you find them.
Yes.
I know that that's just one ayat out of the whole surah that's speaking to this issue. So can you give us a better understanding, either you or Imam Wali, on this one, please?
Yes,
Sure.
you
want to take a break?
You want me to? No,
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
This is also one of the ayats, one of the verses that has been cited or written and misinterpreted again. So I'm not going to go into much detail like I went through the first one, but I think I gave good example that is clear now from the first ayah, from the first verse. This one in particular, and kill them wherever you find them, this is in chapter 2, verse 191. And if you just go to the verse right before it, you would read, and fight in the way of Allah, excuse me, those who fight you.
Right.
Those who fight you. So this
It's always
ayah,
referring to those who fight you. It's not just saying, just kill.
exactly, those who fight you, yes. And so if you just go one verse before it, it would explain what this is, and kill them wherever you find them. It's those who fight you. In other words, in other words, make sure that they are, if you're going to protect, your Islam, make sure that you do the right thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In accordance with the laws of Allah.
Of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's correct. Go ahead.
And as you mentioned earlier, that also refers to those who are treacherous, and they're not accepting peace, and they have a history of breaking their word. They're liars. They got in and out, and sometimes some of them would use a religion as a shield, or their oath. They'll use their oath as a shield, and to promise one thing, and because they were not in the advantageous situation there, and then when they got in a little better situation, they change up.
Yes.
So they also had a history of that. Yeah.
So you were saying that ayat before this one, it explains.
It explains the limits. Yeah, it explains the limits, and it also explains the circumstances under which this second ayah was revealed.
Yeah.
It was revealed for those who would fight, those who have been those who are the transgressors.
Right.
Yeah.
Now.
Okay. And there's another one that says, and fight them until there is no more disbelief.
Yeah. This, go ahead, Imam, if you want to.
It says, well, yes, okay, so, and fight them until there is no more disbelief. And that's, I see that in religion is for God. I think it's what it has here. It says, fight them until there is no more disbelief, and religion is for God alone. And again, that context that is put there, Islam is saying that and in the broader context of that statement really is this, that we ought to fight those who are using religion for something other than liberation of the people. That's really the broader context of the statement, because many times people don't have religion for God; it's for commercial interests. And by that I mean it's benefiting commercial interests more than it's benefiting the people.
Yes.
And it's benefiting and more than it's doing any good for religion. We don't say more than it's benefiting God, because in Islam we don't see God as one that has the needs, but it is benefiting the commercial. It's serving commercial interests of society more than it's serving the people.
Yes.
So in the broad context, we like to get it out that the statement is really saying that in the context of the Quran, even though there were incidents that prompted this revelation to be revealed.
Yes.
And so I'm going to go ahead and yield so that perhaps I am going to get to that.
Sure. Yeah. This verse again comes right after the verse that we just discussed before, and kill them wherever you find them.
Right.
So this is all connected. But some people take this verse and find them until there's no more disbelief, and they take that as, again, in accordance with their own thinking, with their own dogma, that Islam wants to prevail as the only belief in society, that it's the only religion in society. You have to fight people, and there's no more disbelief whatsoever, and everybody's under, and everybody submits to Islam, which is totally wrong.
Yeah.
One thing I mentioned that when we read the Quran, we have two things there are two things we have to look at. One is the historical context. What has happened at that time, whether it's a specific verse that addresses a specific situation, or it's just a general. And the other aspect of it is the wording itself in Arabic. The word disbelief in Arabic, it's actually translated from fitna, fitna in Arabic. And although I will explain to you what fitna means, but although disbelief means also fitna, but the word fitna itself is more specific than that. It says, and fight them until there is no more fitna. Fitna comes from the word fatana, and in Arabic, fatana means that, for example, if you have a goldsmith, and he would take a slab of gold, and then he would subject it to extreme heat, and then he would mold it, he would yeftin it, he would make a fitna out of it into something else. So this is the fitna, which is subjecting that object into to certain circumstances, harsh circumstances, that it would change it into a disbelief. So the word fitna itself, it does not really mean just disbelief, but it truly means that the process by which that other people would subject you Muslims to
We're getting close to the end of the show here. I want to kind of sum it up and say that Islam does not suppress, oppress, nor punish others for having different beliefs, nor does it encourage transgression and indiscriminate killing. And certainly, collective punishment is not an Islamic principle. Nowhere in the Quran where we see a people collectively punished for the murderous action of a few. It is a religion of peace. It is also a comprehensive religion of equality, which protects society from murder and unjust killing. We can't live peacefully in a society unless there's a rule of law which deters the evildoers. And hence, there are those laws of retribution that are the fairest until this day and age. Forgiveness in Islam is the highest moral standard and most revered act, even in the face of transgression.